Imagine this. 1,000 generations before the pyramids, before writing, before kings, and thousands of years before the idea of a country or religion existed, humans built something extraordinary, a city. A place not for nomads or wanderers, but for people who stayed, lived, worked, dreamed together. But here's the real mystery. Nobody knows exactly why they built it. Was it survival? Was it belief? Was it curiosity? Or something deeper about being human? Today, we're going on a journey to find the first true city humanity ever built and uncover the hidden motivations behind its creation. To understand the first city, we need to step back, far back, to a time when humans lived in small bands, rarely larger than a few dozen people. Life was simple, but never easy. Our ancestors followed herds, gathered wild plants, tracked seasons, and survived using nothing but cooperation, memory, and shared knowledge. And yet, something incredible was happening inside the human mind. They weren't just surviving. They were imagining. They painted caves. They shaped stone. They buried their dead. They looked at the stars and wondered if the universe had meaning. The first sparks of culture, identity, and belonging were forming, long before cities, governments, or temples existed. We often think fear built civilization. But what if it was imagination? For tens of thousands of years, humans wandered. Then, something changed. Not suddenly, but slowly, almost unnoticed. People began planting seeds. They learned that plants could be controlled, stored, harvested. Wheat, barley, lentils, small experiments that turned into a revolution. But agriculture didn't just change how humans ate. It changed how humans thought. Farming required planning, tools, cooperation, and patience. It demanded seasons, calendars, and responsibility. And when food could be stored, people no longer needed to move camp. For the first time in human history, permanence became possible. And permanence leads to something powerful: community. Around 9,000 years ago, in what is now modern Turkey, something astonishing appeared. A dense cluster of homes. No streets, no palaces, no monuments for kings. A city built roof to roof, where people walked not on the ground, but across the tops of houses. This place is called Çatalhöyük, and many believe it may be the first true city in the world. What makes it so mysterious is not just how early it appeared, but who lived there. There is no evidence of rulers, no elite class, no war monuments. Instead, the people seem equal. They painted walls, cared for animals, crafted tools, cooked meals, traded goods, and shared knowledge. Çatalhöyük wasn't just shelter. It was identity, and perhaps that is the moment cities truly began. Not with stone walls or kings, but with the simple idea that humans belong somewhere together. When we study ancient cities, we often search for physical evidence: tools, walls, pottery, bones. But some of the most important things leave no trace at all: beliefs, stories, shared meaning. At Çatalhöyük, archaeologists found something surprising: symbols painted over walls, repetitive patterns, mysterious animal figures, especially the wild bull, the aurochs. These weren't decorations. They were expressions of something deeper, the invisible world of human imagination. Long before written language, humans recorded ideas in symbols. These symbols weren't just art, they were communication. Shared belief is powerful. It creates trust. Trust creates cooperation, and cooperation allows people to build what no single person ever could: a city. So perhaps the first cities weren't built because humans needed shelter, but because humans needed meaning. Day after day, life in the first city followed a rhythm. People prepared food, shaped clay, sharpened tools, cared for animals, repaired homes, and exchanged goods. But among all these activities, one place held special importance: the hearth. Fire was more than heat. It was connection. Around the fire, people shared stories, memories, knowledge, and perhaps even dreams. Scientists believe that storytelling may have played a key role in human evolution. Stories helped groups survive by sharing wisdom: where to find water, how to read the stars, when the seasons shift. But stories did something else too. They created identity. A community without shared memory is just a crowd. But a community with shared stories becomes a culture. Cities change everything, including relationships beyond their walls. Archaeologists have discovered obsidian from distant mountains, seashells from distant coasts, pigments from unknown regions, all found inside Çatalhöyük. This means people were traveling or exchanging goods over long distances. And trade isn't just the exchange of objects, it's the exchange of ideas. When cultures meet, knowledge spreads. New tools appear. New skills evolve. New possibilities emerge. Trade networks may have been the silent engine behind civilization, connecting people who would never meet, yet influencing each other across miles of landscape. The first city wasn't isolated. It was part of a web, a system. A prototype of the world we now live in. Long before global trade, there were pathways of curiosity, proof that humans have always reached beyond the horizon. One of the most intriguing mysteries of Çatalhöyük is what's missing. No palaces, no thrones, no evidence of armies, no signs of social domination. Houses were nearly identical in size and layout, suggesting something rare in human history: a society without formal rulers. Was this a utopian experiment, a cultural choice, or simply a stage before hierarchy emerged? We may never fully know, but the architecture speaks clearly. People lived close with equal access to resources, shared work, shared ritual, and shared responsibility. The city was not built by a king or a priest. It was built by ordinary people making extraordinary choices. And perhaps for a moment in history, cooperation was enough. As centuries passed, something began to change. Populations grew, agriculture improved, trade networks expanded, and slowly the world began shifting toward a new kind of human existence, one more structured, organized, and complex. In Mesopotamia, the land between rivers, a new experiment began. One that would reshape the future of humanity, the world's first true civilization. Among the fertile floodplains of the Euphrates and Tigris, people gathered in numbers never seen before. And here, a new kind of city rose, larger, planned, and unified under shared purpose. Its name would echo through time: Uruk. If Çatalhöyük was the seed, Uruk was the tree. Uruk wasn't just larger, and it was different. Streets formed patterns. Buildings followed structure. And at its center stood something monumental, a temple complex, the ziggurat. This towering structure wasn't only architecture, it was identity. For the first time, a city wasn't simply a place to live, it was a system. People farmed grain, raised livestock, crafted pottery, forged tools, recorded numbers, and managed surplus. And surplus is power. With surplus came specialization. With specialization came hierarchy. Leaders emerged, roles evolved, and society became layered, organized not just by space, but by purpose. Uruk wasn't only a physical city, it was the birth of administration, responsibility, and shared governance. As cities grew, memory alone was no longer enough. Crops needed tracking, trade needed records, rituals needed schedules, governance needed accountability, and so something remarkable happened. Humans created a system to store information outside the human brain. At first, it was simple. Marks on clay tokens, symbols representing goods, quantities, transactions. But over time, these symbols evolved into something far greater. Cuneiform, the world's first written language. With writing, ideas could travel across time. Rules could be preserved. Knowledge could grow beyond memory. Writing turned history into something humanity could build upon, not rediscover over and over again. And this changed everything. For the first time, humanity stepped into the age of recorded thought. But as cities expanded, life changed in ways our ancestors never expected. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived in small groups, close, familiar, face to face. Cities introduced something new: anonymity. In a city, you could meet hundreds of people in a day and know none of their names. This shift reshaped the human mind. Cooperation became more formal. Laws replaced personal trust. Roles replaced relationships. And yet, cities also sparked creativity. Innovation accelerated. Ideas multiplied. When humans gathered in large numbers, something extraordinary emerged: collective intelligence. The first cities were more than houses and walls. They were engines of imagination. Cities brought progress: writing, architecture, organization, innovation. But they also brought something new: pressure. As populations increased, so did complexity. Roles became more defined. Surplus became wealth. Wealth became influence. And slowly the balance shifted. What had once been shared, land, food, labor, now became structured and controlled. Farmers produced more than they consumed. Craftspeople specialized. Administrators recorded and redistributed. With stability came inequality, and civilizations like Uruk began forming social layers: leaders, workers, planners, builders, artisans, traders, farmers. Not because anyone decided it should be that way, but because scale demanded order. This was not the failure of civilization. It was the price of complexity. Humanity was evolving, not just physically, but socially. Once the world had its first true city, more followed. Egypt, the Indus Valley, ancient China, the Americas. Urban life spread not because it was easy, but because it worked. Cities offered stability, predictable food supply, shared resources, safety in numbers. Humanity became a species of builders, architects of environment and destiny. The city was now part of our identity. Thousands of years later, ruins remain. Crumbling bricks, weathered clay tablets, walls worn smooth by time. When we visit these ancient places, we aren't just looking at architecture. We're looking at decisions, at hopes, at experiments in how humans should live together. Every temple, every street, every fragment of pottery, and is a message from people who lived long before us. We were here. We tried. We imagined something bigger than ourselves. And in a way, cities became humanity's longest lasting memory. When we ask who built the first city, we often imagine a leader, a ruler, or a visionary. But the truth is more profound. The first city wasn't built by a single person. It was built by all of humanity working together across generations. It was built by farmers planting the first seeds, by traders crossing great distances, by artists painting symbols, by builders shaping clay, by storytellers keeping memory alive. The first city was not just walls and rooms, it was cooperation materialized, a shared dream made real. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not who built the first city, but why humans wanted cities in the first place. Maybe humans build cities because we are social, because we seek connection, because we want meaning bigger than survival. Cities allow us to extend ourselves beyond our lifespan, beyond our village, beyond our personal memory. Today, more than half of humanity lives in cities. Skyscrapers, highways, power grids, and glowing lights, all built on principles first imagined thousands of years ago. The world has changed, but the human impulse remains the same: to gather, to share, to build, to belong. When we walk through modern streets, we are walking through the continuation of a story that began long before history was written. The first city was not the end of something. It was the beginning. And so, the question remains, who built the first city on Earth, and why? Perhaps the answer is simple. We built it. Because humans are not only survivors, we are creators. And as long as we continue imagining tomorrow, the story of civilization will never end.